laws. For that we are adopting condolence resolution. Comrades who got martyred, that resolution is going to be presented. And people are moving. And comrade volunteers who are moving chairs, please keep quiet till the condolence resolution is over. Please.
Okay. Then.
How was sounding?
No, it's all right. Yeah, all right. So, and had been in the position, 1991 onwards, had been in that position as Vice President till 15th Conference of CITU. Besides this, Comrade Shamal Chakraborty was elected MLA 4 times and discharged responsibility as Minister of Transport in the Left Front government in the state for 2 terms. This All India Conference, or this 17th Conference, named after the Comrade Shamal Chakraborty's, we pay homage respectfully to his demise. We pay homage to demise of Comrade Raghunath Singh, National Vice President CITU. On 20th December, he died due to COVID. He was the General Secretary of Punjab CITU for a long period and played a role in organizing the workers in Punjab. He was also very active in the historic Kishan struggle till he was hospitalized. Conference pays respectful homage to Ranjana Nirula. We have also named this venue after Comrade Nanjara Nirula, convener of All India Coordination Committee of ASHA Workers, working committee member, former treasurer of CITU, and one of the pioneers of the working women's movement in our country. She passed away in May 21 at the age of 75 years. She was also one of the founders of AIDWA in Delhi. She became CITU whole-timer in 1978 and was a member of the first All India Coordination Committee of the Working Women formed in 79. She joined CITU Center in 1998 and was the working editor of CITU Journal, The Voice of the Working Women. The conference, the stage is named after Comrade Ranjana Nirula. We pay respectful homage to the leaders of the left and democratic movement, Comrade Kodiyari Balakrishnan, Comrade K. Varadarajan, Comrade Kumar Shiralkar. During this period, we have lost many of our important leaders of CITU. I am not going into details because in our various General Council meetings, and our working committee meetings, our conferences and CITU's working class and other journals, we have given details of these following comrades. I am just reading the names. Comrade Birendra Bhandari, Mahendra Singh, S.K. Bakshi, Katakka Sasi, Janaki Ballabh, Udbhav Balwalkar, Salim Patel, Pancharatnam, M. Krishnan, K.K.N. Kutti, Maruti Manpade, Piyush Nag, K. Vaidyanathan, Comrade R. Rangarajan, A.K. Lal, M.S. Raja, A.B. Das, Rajdev Goala, Ashit Mukherjee, Shyam Prasad Keshar, Shivaji Patnaik, C.H. Balamohan, Muhammad Yusuf, Tarapado Rai Chaudhuri, Tarun Bharadwaj, Arvind Kumar, and Bansilal Kalal. We pay homage to the great women leaders of trade union and women's movement, Comrade Mallu Swarajam, Maithili Shivaraman, Comrade K.R. Gauriamma. We mourn the passing away of Tehmina, leader of CITU affiliated to ASHA workers, who, while participating to a demonstration of the workers at Kulgaon, Kashmir, in March 22, he died there, had an attack and he died there. And we pay homage to trade union leaders, Abani Roy, UTUC, Comrade Subbaraman, LPF, Shankar Shah of AIUTUC, Ila Bhatt of Seva. We pay homage to Sharat it should be Sharad Yadav, he died the other day, socialist leader. We pay homage to the leaders of international trade union movement, Comrade David Sipunji and Comrade Gilda Chacon Bravo. We express anguish to the institutional murder of Father Staniswamy. We also condole the death of Danish Siddiqui, the famous photographer killed by Taliban in Afghanistan. We pay respectful homage to those national and international legendary figures of various fields. And they are Pele, Diego Maradona, Professor Arjun Dev, Professor Ayush Ahmed, and Professor Avijit Sen. Known personalities in cultural field like Dilip Kumar, Girish Kanrad, Krishna Sopti, Nambar Singh, Azma Jilani Jahangir, Shara Abud Bakar, K.P. Sasi, Stephen Hawkins, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Pandit Birju Maharaj, Lata Mangeshkar, Sandhya Mukherjee, Binod Dua, Pandit Shivakumar Sharma, S.P. Balasubramaniam, Comrade, and Pandit Yashraj, the classical musicians. We condole the death of the workers who died during COVID-19 duty. We pay homage to all those corona warriors killed on duty fighting this pandemic, Asha Anganwadi workers, doctors, nurses, paramedical staff, sanitation workers, police personnel, paramilitary staff, transport or essential services like food, electricity, water and banking. We also condole the deaths of all those Jawans killed by the terrorist and divisive forces in various parts of the country. We also condole the death of innocent civilians in such terrorist attacks, imperialist forces, armed conflicts, civil war, etc. all over the world. The conference expresses anger and concern over increasing mob lynching of Muslims and Dalits by RSS-led Hindutva hooligans and pay homage to the victims throughout the country. We condemn the attack against Adivasis by the upper caste Hindus to capture their land in Sonbhadra, UP. The conference pays homage to the common people of this country who fell to murderous communal attack in Delhi. We express our anguish in the increasing violence against women and children, especially from the socially backward sections. We pay homage to victims of Hathras, rape and murder and hundreds like that. We pay homage to the Dalit children beaten to death by a caste teacher for drinking water from drinking water from the pot meant for the upper caste only. This conference also pay homage to all those who died of hunger in India and world over in this crisis-ridden capitalist world. I place this resolution for your approval. Yes, comrade, then I will place another resolution.
Comrades, please stand for some time. Yes, please stand for some time. Yes, comrades. Now the martyrs' resolution paying homage to the martyrs.
This is a small resolution. I will read the resolution on homage to martyrs. In the 17th conference of CITU being held at 18 to 22nd January, the Bengaluru, see the reverberations are coming. Try to control this because it is coming back. Dips the flag in salute to the martyrs who laid down their lives in the cause of downtrodden. This conference pay respectful homage to Comrade Manish Shukla, the president of CITU affiliated Cement Mazdoor Ekta Union in KJ's Cement Maihar factory, district Satna, Madhya Pradesh, who was brutally assassinated by the Supari killers engaged by KJ's management. Comrade Manish was attacked on September 22, his way back to home by the goons of the management, and succumbed to injuries on September 23rd. This conference condemns this incident in strongest terms and demands exemplary punishment to all guilty, including those involved in the criminal conspiracy to eliminate CITU union leaders. This 17th conference of CITU pays respectful homage to more than 700 peasants who died at the Delhi borders during 1 year long historic Kishan struggle. This convention strongly condemns the most gruesome cleaning of farmers who were peacefully protesting at Lakhimpur Kheri in Uttar Pradesh. 4 farmers and a journalist were mowed down by the son of Union Minister of State for Home Affairs. This conference pays homage to these martyrs. We pay homage to many of the trade union activists who have been killed by RSS and minority fundamental forces like SDPI. Many of our comrades have been killed by the political opponents, especially in Kerala, West Bengal and Tripura. This conference pays homage to the farmers who have lost their lives in Mansoor, in Madhya Pradesh and in different parts of the country during the farmers' agitation. This conference pays homage to all those who have laid down their lives for the betterment of downtrodden people and in the fight against imperialism world over. We pledge to carry forward their struggle for a just and egalitarian society. I end here. Yeah, with the permission of President, I request our comrades to stand up for 2 minutes.
Yes, comrades. Now, for the conduct of this conference smoothly, we need to form some committees. Comrade Tapan Sen, our General Secretary, will make the proposal. Yes, Tapan.
Comrade, for conducting the conference, certain committees are required to be constituted. I am proposing the name of Credential Committee, the Resolution Committee and the Minutes Committee. Credential Committee, Convener Comrade Amitabh Guha from CITU Center. Members, Comrade Prashanto Nandi Chaudhary from West Bengal, Comrade K.R. Raghu from Maharashtra, Comrade A.V. Nageshwar Rao from Andhra Pradesh, Comrade Nanda Kumar from Kerala, Comrade V. Kumar from Tamil Nadu, Comrade B.S. Rawat from CITU Center. This is the proposal for Credential Committee. This will, comrades, the credential forms are in your bag. Fill up the credential forms and submit through your state leadership to the credential committee at the earliest. It will take time to process. And also the affiliation application, the credential committee has got a responsibility to examine the applications for new affiliation and take a decision and keep before the conference. So these are the two important tasks Credential Committee is supposed to do. And I propose the name. Second, the Resolution Committee. Convener, Comrade R. Karumalayan from Center, Comrade K.K. Dibakaran from Kerala, Comrade Somnath Bhattacharya from West Bengal, Comrade S. Kannan from Tamil Nadu, Comrade Joy Bhagawan from Haryana, and Comrade Balaji from Karnataka. This is the proposal for the Resolution Committee. Already certain resolution we have prepared and it was in your document book also, and some more may be prepared as Resolution Committee finds required. Then Minutes Committee. Its convener Comrade M. Sai Babu from Center. Members are Comrade P.G. Dilip from Kerala, Comrade Jeevan Saha from West Bengal, Comrade A. Nageshwar Rao from Telangana, Comrade G. Nagarajan from Tamil Nadu, Comrade Saurabh Mishra from Madhya Pradesh, Comrade Anupam Kumar from Bihar, and Comrade Prem Gautam from Himachal Pradesh. These are the Minutes Committee, proposal for the Minutes Committee. In one side, the seat for the Minutes Committee comrades have already been identified. So, comrade, this is the proposal before you for your consideration.
Yes, comrades, those who approve these proposals, please raise your hands. So I think there is no opposition to these committees. So these comrades in these committees, they will function. As Comrade Tapan has already told, all the delegates are requested to please submit their credential forms to the office by today evening. And the credential form has a separate section for those who are serving workers. So the leaders of the delegation, please ensure that that part also is properly filled, because it is in English. There may be some difficulties for some comrades. So the leaders of the delegation are requested to please ensure that the credential forms are properly filled and submitted in the office by today evening or at the earliest. Then the other part also, the new returns for affiliation, they also have to be submitted. So now I request the General Secretary of WFTU, Comrade Pambis Christis, to address and greet this conference.
WFTU Jindabad!
Jindabad, Jindabad!
WFTU Jindabad!
Jindabad, Jindabad!
दुनिया के मजदूर
एक हो, दुनिया के मेहनतकश, इंकलाब जिंदाबाद, WFTU जिंदाबाद. Comrade, please raise the WFTU placards and the flags, please. आप प्लीज अपना फ्लैग और WFTU का प्लकार्ड उठाइए. हमारा कॉमरेड्स आए हैं. इंकलाब जिंदाबाद. कॉमरेड पनपीस को लाल सलाम. इंकलाब जिंदाबाद. दुनिया के मजदूर, दुनिया के मजदूर.
Dear comrades, delegates of the C2 17th All India Conference, on behalf of more than 105 million members of the World Federation of Trade Unions from 133 countries from all corners of the earth, I convey to you and through you to the workers of India, militant class greetings. First of all, I would like to thank for the invitation and the possibility to attend the 17th National Conference of SITU. I especially thank the President, Malata, a leadership figure of the Indian but also the international class-oriented labor movement, who we have the honor of being a Vice President of our World Federation, and of course, General Secretary, Comrade Tapan Sen. SITU is a valuable member for the WFTU, not only because of the number of members it represents, but also because of its rich militant history and its stable anti-imperialist and anti-capitalist orientation. Its joining the WFTU had sent a strong message of hope and perspective in a particularly difficult period for the class-oriented global trade union movement. Rightly, SITU has a position in the Secretariat of our Federation, and Comrade De Vroy is one of the Deputy General Secretaries of the WFTU. Brothers and sisters, in nowadays, the world is going through a phase of extreme intensification of political, economic, and military antagonisms, aiming at controlling and exploiting the economic resources of our planet. And as always is happening, the peoples pay the price of the imperialist wars and interventions. After the Russian invasion in Ukraine, the United States, the NATO, and the European Union, they attempt to present the situation as a war between liberalism and authoritarianism, thinking that this way their own criminal role in the developments can be hushed up. But so many bloody wars and interventions to promote their own selfish imperialistic interests are clearly visible in Palestine, in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yugoslavia, Cyprus, and so many other places, Cuba and Venezuela and Marcos, and so many sanctions and economic wars. Our answer to the hawks who they try to appear as pigeons is that the word peace is not being protected by even more militarism or patronage of all kinds of far-right nationalists and fascists. It cannot be based on blockades, sanctions, and economic wars. WFTU is fighting for peace, for an end to this war, and to imperialist wars and interventions in generally, for the dissolution of NATO and all military coalitions, and for the abolition of nuclear weapons. The crisis of capitalism, it deepens and strengthens, resulting in the open violation of democratic and trade union rights and the dramatic widening of social inequalities, poverty, and exploitation. The sharp and uncontrollable increase in prices of all basic necessities dissipates the living standard of the working people families. At the same time that multinationals and monopolies are reaching new records in profits. The results of the war of NATO and Russia in Ukraine attempt to be loaded to the shoulders of the working class. The workers all over the world refuse to pay for the capitalist crisis and the imperialist wars. Through remarkable struggles, strikes, and mobilizations to defend the democratic and trade union freedoms, the collective bargaining and the stable, permanent, and agreements-regulated labor, and for the satisfaction of the contemporary needs of the working people. WFTU affiliates are at the forefront of these struggles. The sharpening of state repression and authoritarianism is the response of the bourgeois governments to the just popular demands. Unfortunately, with the intolerance of surrendered trade union leaders and the cooperation of yellow unions, the arrest of the Secretary General of the International Trade Union Confederation, the ITUC, Luca Vicentini, for a bribe scandal brings to the surface one more time the issue of corruption within the trade unions. In this particular case, the arrest linked with cover-up of terrible crimes committed against thousands of workers, many of whom lost their lives during their daily work. WFTU called the trade unions all over the world to protect the autonomy of their class orientation, away from bureaucracy, corruption, and manipulation by the capital and employers. The bribe scandal confirms once again that the absence of a substantial reaction to the neoliberal anti-labor policies from the side of the reformist unions clearly coexists with the corruption and the use of trade union positions for opposite purposes to the class interests of the working class. Dear comrades, brothers and sisters, concluding my intervention, I would like to wish you every success in the works of your conference. Your struggles to defend and expand the rights and improve the quality of life of Indian workers are important not only for you, but also for the workers in Europe, in Africa, in Latin and North America. The attack to the working class gains and rights, it is very hard and is global-wide. The monopolies and multinational giants, while fiercely competing for control of markets and raw materials, at the same time, they are cooperating on the attack against labor and social rights. The weapon of the working class is solidarity and internationalism. For the workers who resist, who do not compromise with oppression, discrimination and exploitation, there is only one path of dignity, the path of the struggles. Keep going, comrades, for the defense of the political, social and trade union rights of Indian workers with unity and decisiveness. And be sure that you can always rely on the solidarity and the support of the international class-oriented trade union movement against capitalist barbarity, for a world free of imperialist wars and intervention, without any kind of discrimination and man-by-man exploitation. Long live the working class struggles for peace and social justice. Long live Sidhu and the working class of India. Long live the WFTU.
Take space.
Before to leave the floor, I would like to give a present on behalf of WFTU to remember this historic Congress and this historic moment. is the photo of our last 18th Congress.
Wait.
Up socialism! Up socialism! Amen. Amen. Eko. Zindabad, Zindabad.
That you make him.
Eko.
Traditional Mysore peta. So this all bridegrooms will wear during marriage.
Thank you. It's too late for me. I have already made two. Long live the working class!
Yes, on behalf of all of you, we thank Comrade Pambis, General Secretary of WFTU, for his inspiring speech. Now, comrades, we have all gathered here after almost exactly 3 years since we had our last conference, 16th conference in Chennai. And during this period, despite the difficulties created by the pandemic and the difficulties and challenges because of the policies of the government, we have all participated in many struggles, led many struggles, and we gained many experiences. Now in this conference, it is time for us to analyze those struggles and the experiences. In some of the struggles, we have achieved successes. In many of the struggles, we could not achieve successes. So we have to analyze the reasons behind our inability to achieve the success of our demands, and also the factors that led for the success, how we could succeed. And when we are doing that, we also, I think, have to keep in mind the reality. We have to objectively assess the reality and how our struggles, whether they were intended to change the reality, whether our objective was to change that reality, and how far we have been able to change that reality, and if we are not, what are our experiences. I think it is with this perspective, because changing the reality is the constitutional objective of CITU. So, when we want to achieve our constitutional objective of ending exploitation and changing the society, so we cannot say just that this is the reality today, and so because of that we have not been able to do. So keeping the reality in mind, our effort should be to change the reality, and how far we worked with this perspective, with this objective, and what are the experiences. I think that should be the main direction of our discussions in this conference. And when we discuss our struggles, the experiences, we have to keep in mind that we are not isolated. The workers in the factories, maybe they are working in the center of the country in NCR, or whether they may be working in some industrial clusters, or our scheme workers are working in the rural areas, or the construction workers, or different sectors, whether organized or unorganized. We have to understand that our struggles and our experiences are not isolated, and our issues and the demands that we have been raising in our country in different sectors, they are also not isolated. Maybe the exact issue and the exact demand and the exact context in which the struggles are conducted in different sectors in different states, they may differ, but the broad framework or all these issues, all these demands, they basically boil down to basic issues which are related to the wages, the working conditions, the rights at workplace, and our basic democratic and human rights. So when we examine this, we see that these are the same experiences across the world. We have to keep that in mind when we are examining, analyzing our own struggles. We have to keep this in mind, that in the context of the issues, the demands of the working class across the world. So with this perspective, if we examine the struggles during this period, not only in our country, we have seen the pandemic has affected the entire world, including the developed countries and the most powerful countries economically, militarily, like the USA and other advanced capitalist countries also. So despite that, despite the pandemic, despite the repression that is let loose by the different governments in different countries, which are protecting the interests of the capitalist class, the working class across the world is in struggles, was in struggles during this period, increased number of struggles. Whether it is the USA, whether it is the Europe, including England or France or Spain or Italy or other countries, whether it is in the countries of Latin America or in other, even Africa, etc., all over the world we see that unprecedented struggles have taken place. In the UK itself, it is reported that the struggles, more number of workers have participated in the struggles during 2022 than in the 1980s. So in the USA 2021 itself was supposed to be a year of big struggles. And in the month of October itself, we have referred to it in our General Council and Working Committee meetings, that it was called Striketober in 2021, because lakhs of workers participated in the struggles. 2022, it was even more. It is reported that 39% more workers participated in the struggles in 2022 than in 2021. And what are the demands of these workers? The basic demands is the price rise, the control price rise, increase in wages, protection of the rights, the right to organization, right to strike, the social security benefit, pensions, bonuses, hours of work, etc. As we are raising in our own country, it is the same demands that are being raised across many countries. Because the price rise, we all have seen, the prices have almost unprecedented. There is an unprecedented price rise in the last several decades. In the USA, in UK, in Japan, in all these countries, the prices have risen highest in the last 4 decades, in the last 40 years. And particularly the rise of food and fuel, the basic necessities of the common people. These have risen, and even buying bread has become difficult. People had to choose in Europe because during the winter we all know the fuel is necessary to, electricity is necessary to warm their houses. So it has become such a situation that the people have to choose between whether to eat food or keep their houses warm. So it is that situation. And during this period, the real wages have come down. It is not just the workers are asking for increase in their wages. The main thing is that the workers are asking for the rise in wages to compensate for the increase in the prices. But actually the real wages of workers have come down during the last several years. It is said that during the, in UK, in the Europe, real wages have come down in the last 20 years. In the USA, real wages, there is a stagnation in the real wages since the 1970s. So this is the situation, and because of the coming down of the real wages, the ILO also has mentioned about the decline in the real wages, how the real wages have decreased, and particularly for the middle and lower level workers, those workers who are paid at the lower level or in the middle income. Not the higher level, higher paid workers, but for those who are in the lower level and the middle level, for them the wages have further decreased. And so much so that for the nurses in UK, they said that they are not able to even, means they are skipping their food. The nurses are compelled to skip their food. The wages of the midwives, the wages of the ambulance drivers, the wages of the nurses, per year around 300 to 400 pounds wages have fallen during the last several years. So that is the main concern of the workers today, the fall in real wages and this. And what is the recommendation ILO is saying? That ILO in the latest Global Wage Report of 2022, ILO itself has said, talked about the fall in the real wages, and ILO has recommended that the workers have to fight. We all know ILO is not a true representative of the workers. The name is Indian Labour Organization, but it is a tripartite body where the workers are also there, employers are also there, and the governments are also there. And the governments in most countries represent the interests of the employer. So it is a mainly large component is the employer's interest. But even ILO has been forced to say that the workers have to struggle for increase in their real wages, because only increase in the real wages will help in growth of the economy, in increasing the jobs, in addressing the issue of unemployment, and also by growth, by providing employment, that the probability of recession and the depth of the recession also can come down. So that is the solution to address this recession and the slowdown of the growth. That is what the ILO recommends. But what are the countries in different capitalist countries doing? The most of the countries in the capitalist world, they are not addressing the concerns of the workers. It is not the way that they are following to increase the wages or increase the conditions, improve the conditions of the workers. In most of the capitalist countries, what we see is that to address this, more attacks are coming over the workers. So this, what we need to understand is that the situation where all over the world the workers' wages are declining, workers are coming into struggles, and the governments are not protecting the interests of the workers, but they are trying to further attack the living conditions of the workers for the benefit of the employers, this entire thing shows that the system itself is in crisis. The entire capitalist system, the neoliberal system is in crisis. It is not able to provide any relief to the workers. The ILO is making recommendations. And about the crisis, we have been talking about the crisis. Now for the the price rise, what is the reason? The reason generally projected by the bourgeois economists is that because of the COVID or because of Ukraine war, the prices of oil and others are rising, so that is the reason. But crisis was there not after COVID. Even everybody is agreeing today that crisis was there even before the COVID pandemic struck. Even before 2020, when we had our last conference, we have talked about the crisis. And even the prices of petrol, that one aspect is that the sanctions of the Ukraine war imposed by the imperialist countries. But even then, when the prices of petrol and oil have come down, the prices have not come down anywhere. So there is no link between the oil prices and the prices of the essential commodities. Even in Europe, where the fuel prices have shot up, many economists have told that this is not because of the shortage of the fuel, but mainly because of the policies of privatization. Because the governments there have privatized electricity, and because of that the cost of electricity has gone up and people are not able to afford the electricity for the heating up of their homes and residences. So these are the things. So what we understand for the present situation, there are certain unique features. On the one hand, we see that the new norm today is for the workers to come out into larger and protracted struggles facing the repression by the employers, victimization, and also by the governments and the state machinery, like we are seeing in our own country. And at the same time, the attitude of the government is to protect the interest. They are not able to provide any concessions like earlier. Earlier, even in the advanced capitalist countries, there was one period, one time when the workers could get some benefits. The governments were ready to provide some benefits to meet some demands of the workers. But today, that situation is not there. So this is the unique situation where on the one hand this crisis is there, on the other hand the workers are coming into larger. So this shows the entire crisis within the system, and what we have to understand is this crisis is not like the earlier crisis. We have been talking about crisis since many years. Earlier also we have talked about crisis. Last conference also we have talked about the crisis, and we have seen several crises. But this crisis, unlike those crises, whether in the 1970s there was a crisis, then there was the Southeast Asian crisis, then the dot-com bubble crisis, then 2008 financial crisis. This crisis is not confined to only some parts of the world or some sectors. It is engulfed the entire world, all the sectors. So this is the feature of this crisis. So this shows that the neoliberalism is a failure. Neoliberal policies don't have any solution to address the issues, the basic issues of the people, of the common workers and others. And this despite the vast advances, the scientific and technological advances during this period. Earlier, when there was any big pandemic or any vaccines have to be developed, even now people thought that it will take some time to develop vaccine against the COVID. But within 1 year, the world has been able to develop the vaccine against COVID. And how was it developed? It is not by only some vaccine producing companies or some pharmaceutical companies. The companies, the governments have given help with the financial assistance of the people, like in our own country. they have also the biotech. They have produced the vaccine with the help of the government. And similarly, in other countries, vaccines were produced with the help of public funding. Around $100 billion of public funding was given for the production of vaccines. But this was not utilized for the benefit of the people. How we have seen during the pandemic, vaccine apartheid was practiced. The rich developed countries, advanced capitalist countries, they have procured vaccines and they have hoarded vaccines, and they have refused, despite the effort and all the talk of people, everybody not being safe unless everybody is vaccinated. They have not given the patent rights to produce vaccine to the poorer countries. So they were not able to produce vaccine. Even in Africa, the level of vaccination is very low. So it is not just the vaccines, this is only a latest instance. But all the scientific advances, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is robotics, or whether anything, so all the advances and the scientific and technology, they are cornered by a few rich companies, advanced capitalist countries, and thus the people who have contributed to the development of science and technology, they do not benefit from these advances. Today, there is no need for the increase in working hours. The WFTU has been demanding 35 hours work week. We have also raised that demand. But what is the actual situation in the country? Everywhere the working hours are being raised, and most of the workers, working hours are not being applicable. 8 hours work or others, they are not applicable, and more burden is being. And the technology for the, on the organized sector also, in the factory sector, it is used to bring down employment, permanent employment particularly, and increase precarious employment. So what I want to say is, in this capitalist system, we have to understand that it is not able to address any of the basic issues of the workers, the wages issues or the other benefits. And because of that, inequalities have increased. We have been talking about the increase in the inequalities in almost all our conferences and meetings. And the latest World Inequality Report, it is saying about some shocking features, that the share of the world's poorest half, it is about half the share which was there in 1820s. That is more than 200 years. The share of the world's poorest half is only half of that which was there 200 years ago. So how the inequalities are increasing despite the poor, the workers producing the wealth of this country. So latest Oxfam report is there, the World Inequality Report is there, how the richest are cornering. Even in our country, the latest report says that 40% of the wealth is in the hands of 1% of the population, and the lower half of population has only 3% of wealth. So that is how the inequalities are growing. So this is one. So this we see that this is not able to, the system is not able to produce. And not only we are talking about this crisis and these inequalities, etc. Even the World Bank and the IMF, they are also talking about the crisis. You might have seen in the reports recently that how the IMF has brought down the rate of growth, how it has, the estimates have been brought down, and this year it is hardly little more than 2%, and the risks of going down 2%, less than 2% or also 25% is what the IMF says. And the IMF managing director, she told recently that around 1/3 of world's economy, it is not going into slowdown, it is it will contract. The estimate of IMF is that because of the entire slowdown in the USA, in Europe, and also in China, the major contributing countries or the areas which contribute to the economy, there is slowdown, and because of this slowdown, 1/3 of the world economy is going to contract further. So that is what they are saying. The World Bank also is saying similar things. But what is their solution? They are not saying, ILO has said that the wages are real wages, we have to struggle for real wages. But the prescription of these institutions, international financial institutions, it is that you don't give any subsidies, you don't ban exports, you don't take any measures for control of the prices, because all of these measures will distort the market. So that for the benefit of the capitalist class, the big corporates, not for the benefit of the workers. And not only that, they are saying that wages should not be increased. You might have seen Christina Lagarde, who was former IMF managing director and now she is the president of the European Central Bank. She has warned that the wages are rising too fast. So we have to be careful. We should not succumb to the pressure of the workers for increase in wages. Whereas what we have seen today is that the real wages are actually coming down. So this is the prescription of the World Bank and the IMF, which most of the countries in the developing world are following, the capitalist world are following. So in this situation, what we need to understand is the neoliberalism has failed. And many of the countries, despite this situation, they are again approaching the IMF and the World Bank. We have seen how in Sri Lanka, there was a serious crisis. The prices have shot up. They said it was worsened because of the Ukraine war, but even before that, there was scarcity. The foreign exchange was coming down. The government did not have enough money to buy, to import the necessary food or fuel or the milk powder, fertilizers, etc. Because of that, the scarcity and the rising prices, a big struggle, movement has erupted. But what is the solution? The working class also joined, working class also called for a strike. There was a big struggle, the government was forced to change, but the new government has again approached IMF for loan and they have negotiated. Same is the situation in Pakistan, same is the situation in Bangladesh. So in our neighboring countries across the world, the governments which are following this neoliberal path, they are only following the dictates of the neoliberalism, despite it is being very obvious that this system, this neoliberalism has failed and the capitalism has no answer for these problems. And it is not only the economic issues, even about the ecology. Now we are seeing that we are talking about the global warming, about the deterioration in the ecology and conditions, all these things, the climate changes, how it is becoming hotter, etc., etc. And for that also, in this system there is no answer. In the name of development, they are resorting to deforestation and they are following the same path. And the burden of this, instead of taking measures, the rich capitalist countries, the advanced capitalist countries, which are actually the culprits of today's situation of global change and the crisis, ecological crisis, they are trying to shift the burden onto the developing countries and forcing them to accept the different methods, the change, green economy, etc., etc. So this also proves that within this capitalist system, this capitalist path, they don't have any solution. They cannot resolve the crisis between the nature and the capitalist path of development. So this shows the entire failure of the system, and this is what we have to understand. When we are fighting on the demands of the workers in whichever sector they are in our own country, in different states, in different areas or different sectors, whether it is the question of wages, whether it is the question of recognition of the scheme workers as workers, whether it is the question of protecting the basic rights to organization and collective bargaining and collective action by the workers, implementation of labor laws, whether it is the question of labor codes, all these are connected with the policies that are being pursued by the governments in different countries, including our country, and the system itself. So unless we create this awareness among the workers among our members and also in the entire working class will not be able to improve the conditions. There may be some achievement in some sectors to some extent, but the exploitation will continue. The attempts of the government and the ruling classes to suppress struggles, to weaken the trade union movement will continue. We will not be able to achieve our constitutional objective. And that is the lesson we have to learn from the global struggles. So on the one hand, what we see today, struggles are there, struggles are increasing. But at the same time, just struggles are not enough to change or bring about any change in the socio-economic conditions of the people. That by just struggles are not going to transform the socio-economic conditions. So for that, we have to fight this ideologically also. In many countries, what we say, even in Europe, we have talked about the struggles of all sections of the workers, the rail workers, the transport workers, the mine workers, the nurses, health workers, education workers, government employees, postal employees, etc., etc. But even there, when the unions leading the struggles do not have a proper political ideological perspective, there we see that the right wing is also growing. In many countries, you see in Sweden, or whether it is in France, whether it is in Germany, whether it is in Belgium, Italy, in all these countries, many big struggles have taken place, but at the same time, there is growth of the right wing. In France, Le Pen's right-wing party has come as the major opposition party. In Italy, we find the Prime Minister belongs to a party that is supporting Mussolini. So similarly in Sweden also, recently a right wing, the government has, they also are participating in the government, a right wing force. So in many countries, this is the situation. But at the same time, where the union, trade union movement or the working class movement is led with a proper perspective, raising the demands of the common people and including them also, we find that there is certain change and a advance of the left wing also. In Latin America, we have seen during this period, after our conference, in many countries, left or progressive governments, or even in countries like Chile, where a communist party also is part of the government, such governments have taken place. So in Chile, what is our experience? What we have seen? The struggle started with only the issue of rise in the transport costs. With that, different sections, the students, the women and the workers have joined, and gradually the demands have raised, and the struggle was against the neoliberal policies. And because of the struggles, the demand for change in the constitution, a constituent assembly, and then a new constitution has come. They have constituted the new constituent assembly, and they have formed a new constitution, also drafted a new constitution. Of course, there were some demands that it has to be changed, it could not be passed, but it was only on certain demands or certain aspects of the constitution, not entire direction of the constitution. So that way, and recently in Brazil, we have seen Bolsonaro was defeated and Lula has come to power, and such situation is there in Honduras, in Colombia, in several other countries. But even there, we have to understand that the right wing is not keeping quiet. What are we seeing today? In Peru, there was a left progressive government which was elected, but now the right-wing forces are trying to derail, and they have forced the president to resign and arrested him, and another lady has been nominated as the president. And against that, the working class is struggling. Working class is mobilizing, they are fighting against that, demanding that this right-wing government should not be there. They also want constitution to be changed, constituent assembly, etc., etc. And even in Bolivia, we have seen, Brazil, we have seen what has happened recently, how the right wing bombarded, or they went and occupied the palace the President's Palace and other offices, etc. So this where we are in the working class is not vigilant. We cannot say that. Even in Brazil, where Bolsonaro is defeated, Lula did not come into power in the first round. Everybody was expecting that in the first round itself he will get enough votes. But even in the second round, it is marginal. Only a little more than 50%, whereas Bolsonaro has got more than 49%. And the Congress, both houses of the Congress are won by the right-wing forces even in Brazil. So this is the danger what we face today. Struggles are there increasingly, but at the same time, unless the struggles are led with a proper ideological political perspective for an alternative for the system, the right wing is utilizing the same discontent among the people and it is trying to project itself as anti-establishment, and utilizing that anti-establishment sentiment of the people, it is coming to power and implementing the same policies. And because of this, the ruling classes, the capitalist class is supporting the right wing in many countries. Not only in our country, in many countries it is with the support of these ruling classes, the capitalist class, that the right wing is coming into power or gaining influence. So this is when we are struggling on the demands of the workers. The lessons we have to draw today is that we have also to struggle against the system, to struggle against the right-wing ideology and for an alternative. It is not that there is no alternative. We have the socialist system and we are seeing the progress of China, how during this period, during the period of this crisis, this pandemic, China has achieved its first centenary objective and it has eliminated absolute poverty. I am not going into the details, but every year during the last decade, more than 1 crore jobs have been provided in the urban areas in China. So housing has improved, health facilities have improved, age has improved. So all these things, in different aspects there is improvement, and socialist China, though there is the pandemic which has started early, and now because of the withdrawal of the zero COVID policy, there has been spread of the disease, but even then, now it has reached the peak and they say that it has been controlled. And the economy, despite all this, the economy is growing compared to many other countries. Slowest for China for last many years, but even then the economic growth was 3%. According to the latest this thing. So this is the alternative where the people, the interests of the people are kept. In our own country, we see the left and democratic government in Kerala, how it is within huge constraints within the existing constitution, our constitutional system, because even despite the huge constraints, the LDF government is trying to protect the interests of the workers, including the migrant workers, the poor and other, through different types of pensions, the welfare boards, trying to protect the minimum wages and their collective bargaining rights, etc., etc. So this is the alternative. And because of this, because there is an alternative, and socialism is the alternative, and the capitalist class does not want socialism to be gaining influence among the workers and the people, they are trying to isolate China and also different types of machinations. And on the other hand, we see that the more and more youth and young people, they are also being attracted to the idea of socialism. Even in the USA, socialism today is receiving more favorable response from the young than it was in 1940s, when Soviet Union was there and the socialist system was there and it was in heyday. Even then, the young in America, they were not so favorable to the socialist ideas. But today, more young people are favorable to the idea of socialism, and more people are getting, disillusioned with the capitalist system, particularly the young, the black and the others. So because of this, The USA is trying to isolate. We see how different machinations, different pacts are being there, how India and other developing countries are also being dragged into. So this is what we need to be very clear, to project this alternative among the workers. And the same thing what I have told, we'll discuss in detail in the General Secretary's report, but broadly we see the same situation in our country, where the BJP-led government is implementing neoliberal policies with more aggressiveness, and also on the other hand trying to suppress the rights of the people using all the entire state machinery, the different laws, the CBI, etc., and also through its divisive machinations by RSS. Today we have to be extra careful. We will be discussing communalism, the danger of communalism in a commission paper also. But at the same time, when we are fighting against the neoliberal policies, we have to create the danger of these communal divisive forces, because the workers are also being influenced. More and more workers are being influenced by the RSS and its ideology. In the public sector, in the state government employees, others in the private organized sector, but not only in these sectors, even in the unorganized sector. We have a very strong movement among the scheme workers in the country. But are we able to bring them closer to the ideology of CITU? Many of them are under the influence of the RSS and this. They are adopting various methods, that is true. But we have also to develop our own methods and approach the workers and create this awareness of how they don't have any alternative policies and they are trying to divide, to weaken our unity and disrupt our struggles. This is the basic objective of the ruling classes. Unless we create this awareness among the working class of our country, we may be conducting many struggles. Many heroic struggles have taken place in our country also during this period, facing lot of repression that we will be discussing. But despite that, when we see, when the elections come, what is the attitude of this government? In some states where non-BJP parties are there in power in the state government, there when the workers are disillusioned or they are not happy, they are discontent against the policies of this government, they see BJP as the alternative, which is a very dangerous thing. So that, what does it indicate? Whether we have been able to create the awareness among our members and our working class in general, even in our own members, not to talk about the working class in general. So I think, comrades, this is what we need to discuss here. Without creating that awareness, we cannot mobilize the workers, we cannot unite the workers, and we cannot take the struggles to, united struggles to a higher level of defiance and resistance. The last conference has given that call. We have to try to implement that to a certain extent, but we cannot say that we have been very successful to take the united struggles to a level of defiance and resistance. So what is the weakness? What is the weakness in the political ideological understanding of our members? What is the weakness in our organizational structure, organized methods of organizational functioning? All these things need to be discussed, and our slogan, the implementation of our slogan, reach the unreached and link up the issues with the policies and expose the politics that determine the policies. This we have been talking about in all our forums. But whether we have been able to implement this at the ground level, I think these should be the issues which this conference needs to deliberate and discuss and come to certain concrete conclusions and tasks which will guide us in the next 3 years so that we can strengthen the CITU, we can strengthen the entire trade union movement and the united movements. We can also strengthen the unity of the workers and peasants, which have been trying to do in the last 3 years. Earlier also we have tried. But in the last 3 years, since the Kisan struggle under the Sanyukta Kisan Morcha, more attempts were made and more initiatives were taken by the working class and particularly our CITU. So how to further strengthen this unity of the workers, peasants and agriculture workers and take it to the grassroots level. Not just some unity at the national level or state level, but we have to take it to the grassroots level, how to do that. I think, comrades, these are the issues that we need to deliberate in this conference. So with these words, I thank you all and conclude my address. Thank you.